What international those goddamn Europeans complaining about the UYCS? Woo! USA, USA!
Face me. Give in to your pride.
Alright, what's happening, plebs? Today's video we're talking about the YCS statistics and raw numbers of total events, basically. Now, generally over the past few years, as sort of an introduction to this, in the EU, we've kind of come to terms with and dealt with the fact that Europe will just get less numbers than America. We've kind of just accepted the fact that America will have more events, whether that's because of a population thing, interest in the game, funding by Konami US more than EU, whatever the reason may be, we've kind of just come to the terms and accepted the fact that America will get better, bigger, more events than us, which is fine, I think, for the most part, but it feels like in recent years, the gap has become truly like too big, and to the point where it's really disheartening as a competitive player to wanting to go to major events. So let's jump straight into the main bulk of this video, and we'll be talking about this annually. So sorry if I'm looking off to the side, I'm looking at my notes here. Let's begin from the year that I started playing in. I'm going to go with 2014. So 2014, America has, and when I'm saying America, I'm going to be referring to North America here, so Canada and the United States. And if I'm going to be referring to the United States, I will simply say United States. But if I say America, I mean North America for the context of this video, so please keep that in mind. So for 2014, we have Atlanta, Chicago, Vegas, Philadelphia, Toronto, Dallas, and Anaheim. 7 YCSs total America gets in 2014. That's a lot of YCS. That is a lot of events to go to, and that's great. Not complaining. I mean, I'm really happy for you guys that you get so many options. It seems very sort of widespread. So you have quite a few in the West Coast. You've got some in the East Coast. You've got a Canadian YCS. You've got one in the Deep South. I mean, that must be fantastic. You have all these options. Obviously, you're probably not going to go to all 7, but you know, if you're really into your YCSs, you might go to like 4 or 5, and I think that's a good number. 4 or 5 is a good number to go to. Now, comparatively, if we look at the EU, we have Berlin, Paris, Madrid, London, Milan. This is a really fantastic year for EU because those are all big cities, main cities, places that are quite easy to get to throughout most Europeans' travels, London especially, which sadly we no longer have. London has been just removed from our YCS schedules. It seems Konami EU either doesn't want to invest the money that comes with hosting a YCS London, or they feel that whatever potential other marketing reasons, etc., they don't want a YCS London. Okay, but that's not the point. Overall, we can look at, starting out from where I began, in terms of raw YCS numbers, we have 5 versus 7. Now, 5 versus 7 YCSs, a gap of 2. That's still 2, and still gap, that's still unfair, that's not equal. This is not socialism. The point I'm trying to make here is the fact that 5 is a good number. I don't mind that, and I don't mind that America gets more events than us. But when we start dropping down, that's when it becomes problematic. Now, look at it this way. If we have 10 events in North America, right, and EU gets 8 events, hypothetically, right, there's still a gap of 2. Now, 10 events versus 8 events. If I'm here as a European, 8 events is a lot of events. That is so many events. That would be fantastic. I'd love to go to all of them, and even if I don't, I'm still going to go to half of them, and that's still 4 events. That's still a lot of events in a year. So 10 versus 8, the gap becomes negligible because there's still so many options there for everyone, right? So having a gap doesn't matter. Now, if we look at the other extreme and we say EU has 1 event and America has 3 events, the gap is still 2. The number hasn't changed, but it feels like there's more of a gap, which is what happens in 2017, but we'll get onto that in a moment. So please bear in mind that 5 versus 7, I'm happy with 2014. That's a good number, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that the gap doesn't really matter. I'm not too sort of concerned with the gap in this scenario. Now, however, if we move on to 2015, where America has Charleston, Tacoma, Chicago, Toronto, Dallas, and San Jose, 6 events, versus EU's Prague, Bochum, Rimini, and Lille, 4 versus 6 here, I believe. 6, yeah, okay, counted that correctly. So, Konami has toned down the events by 1 integer. For EU, we have 4 events in 2015, just as an anecdote, we actually only technically got 3 events in 2015 for EU. So we have 3 versus 6 because YCS Lille was cancelled cancelled, sorry, due to terrorism or whatever. A YCS with those PlayStations and Xboxes is a prime terror target. But anyway, that's a different topic altogether. Fact of the matter is, Konami didn't have a replacement event, they didn't relocate, they didn't do anything to that effect. Essentially, we got a big sort of, sorry, I know you paid for accommodation and travel, deal with it. Now, in 2016, we're moving forward a little bit, America has YCS Atlanta, Vegas, Houston, Providence, Origins, and Toronto. Again, same as 2015, same formula, 6 YCSs versus EUs, Prague, Rimini, Liverpool, and Bochum. Fairly good locations, I'd say. Liverpool is probably out of the way a bit too much if you're not British. Bochum is quite okay to get to because you go to Cologne. Prague, very good location. Rimini, on the other hand, not quite liking the Italian YCS being shifted from Milan to Rimini, because Milan is a lot easier to get to. It's a lot more of a bigger location. It's a bigger tourist location. If you're European, you have to go through some weird fucking route just to get to these places. So America has all these big name cities: Atlanta, Vegas, Houston, fucking Toronto. Like, these are big name like locations. They're probably, you know, not awkward to get to. But it feels like for Europe, not only did we get one less YCS in recent years, we're now getting more awkward locations to get to. And I can promise you, if you're from Scotland and you're trying to get to Rimini, that's pretty awkward. So yeah, now this is where we get to the real saltiness of this video, where I am mega butthurt, and it's 2017, this year, pre-nationals. Now, Konami already announced European Championship 2017. We know it's on the 24th and 25th of June of this year. I'm gonna eat my words. I will say sorry if Konami do announce another YCS for us before nationals. I think that would be cool, but it's safe to assume because they've announced Euros, then their schedule is sort of already planned between now and Euros. They're kind of decided that, yeah, between now and Euros, no more YCSs. We'll just get our regular nationals, right? Now, in 2017, EU gets one YCS so far. So far, America gets YCS Seattle. That just happened. That was, 2 weeks ago, sometime in February, right? Around the same time, they announced YCS Atlanta, which is just around the corner. And furthermore, in April, America's getting Denver and then Pittsburgh in May. So 4 YCSs before your NAWCQ versus Europe's 1 YCS. Whew. Remember, if the gap was, that's a gap of 3, right? If the gap was 10 versus 7, that wouldn't feel too bad. But because the gap is 4 versus 1, that feels enormous. That feels absolutely gigantic. And it is just not fair. It is really not fair. Now, looking at it from another angle, EU, for example, gets lots of nationals. America doesn't actually have nationals in the same way that Europe does. So just as a pretty brief explanation, what we have is the Worlds qualification. So we have the NAWCQ, which is the top 4 go to Worlds, and then in the EU, I think it's top 6 in America, and then in EU, the top 4 go to Worlds in the EU WCQ. NAWCQ, EU WCQ. I know they changed that in recent years, but now it's like top 2 and then like top 4 or something in America now. I don't know. It's the NAWCQ is not nationals. People just call it that because of, you know, it sounds better and it's easier to say. But the NAWCQ is not nationals. It's the World Championship qualifier. Here in the EU, we get what are known as national events. So we do get a British national, an Italian national, a German national, a French nationals. Now, for the most part, these are just one simple event. Now, you can kind of add them on to the number of total YCSs, but just because of the fact that they're not YCSs, they have way lower turnouts. There are some nationals in Europe that get less than 100 people. It's very hard to compare them to the YCS level. In Britain, for example, we have had as low as like 300 show up to a national. So it is a bit of a stretch to call this a YCS. Now, I did want to be fair, but I did want to include this as well. But I think overall, as you can see from my conclusion here, in total, since I started playing this game, I'm just going by 2014 as an anecdote, perhaps you have a better number in mind. From where at least I stand, 2014 up until now, America has 19 scheduled YCSs, Europe has 13. That's a gap of 6 total YCSs over the course of 3.5 years. And I think that is not fair. That's not fair. So let me know what you think down below. should we get more nationals, or YCSs rather? Yeah, YCS is probably the better term. What do you think are the reasons for this? Because I really don't know. Like, why is there such a gap? If you think you have an answer, let us know. If not, oh well. Thanks for watching, everyone. And Konami, if you're watching, please give us more events in Europe. Please, thank you. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next time.